Welcome to Elselah Books Podcast, and welcome to our deep dive. Today, we are getting into something that feels like the highest stakes job on the planet. We're talking about parenting,
Right.
but not just tips and tricks. We're looking at enduring wisdom, specifically how to build, really resilient family relationships.
That's exactly it. And the source material we're digging into today is it's really rooted in some comprehensive biblical studies.
Okay.
We're looking at foundational passages, think Proverbs 22.6, Psalm 139, parts of Ephesians. But the real power here, I think, is that it moves way beyond just a list of rules.
So it's not a do this, don't do that kind of thing.
Not at all. It drives right to the heart of understanding the individual, unique nature of your child. Who they are, not just what they do.
So our mission today for you listening is to really unpack these essential and sometimes pretty surprising insights that can help you guide your children according to their design.
Their specific God-given design.
Exactly. Not trying to force them into some kind of generic one-size-fits-all box.
And that mission really kicks off with what the sources call the foundational concept. It comes straight out of Proverbs 22.6,
Train up the child in the way he should go.
the one everybody knows.
A verse everyone knows, for sure. But the sources seem to argue that the way we usually read it, we might be missing the real depth there.
We are, profoundly so. When you look at the original Hebrew, the phrasing is more like training the child upon the mouth of his way, or, in accord with his way.
Wait, in accord with his way, not the parent's way.
Exactly. The emphasis isn't really on this external moral should, though that's part of it, of course, but it's on the child's own unique internal makeup.
So you're saying the scripture itself is actually telling parents to start by looking at the kid's specific personality.
Precisely. Their unique, God-given characteristics, their abilities, their natural interests. The sources call it their bent.
They're bent, like the grain in a piece of wood.
Perfect analogy. A good carpenter doesn't fight the grain, right? He works with its natural direction. So this whole idea is a powerful rejection of treating all kids identically.
That reframes everything. It makes parenting feel less like behavior management and more like, I don't know, an exploration.
A treasure hunt.
Yes. And the sources also say it's a journey of two discoveries, not just one.
It's totally a reciprocal process. You're discovering the wonders of your child, their imagination, their curiosity, but at the very same time, you're discovering your own makeup. It's like a mirror.
That's humbling.
It is. There's this one line in the research that says, "It wasn't until we began to have children that I fully began to understand how I am put together."
Wow. Okay, so let's unpack this bent idea. If every child is this unique creation, this masterpiece, let's start with the good stuff, the divine design.
That's the first half of their dual nature.
Yeah.
Psalm 139 says it so well. You formed my inward parts. You wove me in my mother's womb. Yes, God is the master weaver. And because of that, parents have this non-negotiable duty to value each child as a unique creation of God.
And if we really truly value that uniqueness, what's the one thing the sources say we have to absolutely forbid in our homes?
Comparison. The sources call it out specifically. They say comparing one child to another is like nitpicking a Da Vinci painting because it's not a Rembrandt.
That's a powerful image.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Both are masterpieces, just totally different. When you compare, you just breed resentment, you crush individuality, and you have to resist it. No favoritism. Just celebrate what makes them distinct.
That all makes sense for the good bents, the beautiful parts. But this is where it gets tough. The sources. They don't stop there, do they?
No, they don't. They pivot to the hard reality that every child has both good bents and detrimental or, sinful bents that we have to counteract.
So encourage the positive, discourage the negative.
That's the dual job. And when we talk about those detrimental bents, the sources break them down into three biblical categories that are really relevant for parents.
Okay, walk us through those, starting with the biggest one.
First is what's called imputed sin. Now, that sounds very
A
theological.
little abstract, yeah.
Right. But practically, it's just the universal human tendency to do wrong. The transmission of that fallen nature from Adam, Romans 5.4.
So every kid, no matter how sweet, has this default switch towards self-interest.
Exactly. And the main parental response to that deep underlying bent is to lead them towards saving faith, to offer them a new nature.
Okay, so that's the general default setting. What's the second category? How is it different?
The second is sinful choices.
Yeah.
These are the overt things you can see. The defiant behaviors.
Like lying.
Lying, an out-of-control temper, stubborn disobedience.
Yeah.
And the sources make a crucial distinction here between that and just childishness.
Right, because a kid spilling milk is not the same as a kid looking you in the eye and saying no.
Not at all. Childishness is accidental. Sinful choices are defiant acts. They come from a heart refusing to submit. And for that, the response has to be early discipline, teaching them about authority.
That's a really important line for parents to draw, I think. How do you tell the difference in the moment when you're frustrated?
The sources say to look for the intent. Is this an I can't or an I won't?
I can't versus I won't.
A 4-year-old being impulsive because their brain is still developing, that's an I can't. That needs patience and instruction. A child who looks you in the eye and flatly refuses a clear command, that's the I won't. That requires a different, more direct response.
Got it. Okay, and the third source of these detrimental bents is, well, it sounds like the hardest one to spot.
It is, because it's often invisible until it repeats. It's inherited patterns. The source material calls it ancestral baggage.
Ancestral baggage.
These are the habits, the temperaments, the moral failures that sort of run like sap through the family tree, the streaks of clay in the marble.
So things like a hot temper that gets passed down, or addiction.
Exactly. Addiction, anxiety, control issues. The original Hebrew word for sins in Exodus even suggests something that's bent, twisted, or distorted.
That makes the idea of sin so much more personal. And the sources use Abraham's family as a case study for this, right? The generational deception.
It's absolutely stunning when you trace it. Abraham lies about his wife to save himself. Then his son, Isaac, repeats the exact same lie years later.
Unbelievable.
And then Isaac's son, Jacob, becomes a master of deceit. He tricks his brother, he tricks his own father. The source notes that with each generation, this baggage just got more twisted and gnarled.
The pattern just gets worse. So how do we stop it? How do we
Yep.
stop being part of the problem and become, agents of change?
Well, the sources point to Joseph, Jacob's son.
Right.
He grew up soaked in this legacy of lies and betrayal, but he consciously reversed the cycle. He chose honesty and incredible forgiveness with his brothers. He broke the pattern.
So the takeaway for you listening is you can't just ignore your own family's baggage.
You have to be an agent of change. If your family tree is full of angry outbursts, you have to diligently guard your own tongue. You have to be determined to straighten those bents for the next generation.
Okay, let's move into the toolbox. After we've done this hard work of discovery, we have to act. Let's talk about discipline, which the sources describe as a vital expression of love.
Yes, loving discipline is about correction, not punishment. But before you even get to the how, the sources lay out 3 crucial distinctions you have to understand.
Okay, let's go over those boundaries again.
First, the difference between discipline and abuse. Discipline's goal is correction. It's fair, it's controlled, and it upholds the child's dignity. You never ever do it in anger.
And abuse?
Abuse is about punishment. It's driven by the parent's rage, it's extreme, it's demoralizing. A parent has to stay in control of their own emotions.
That's the first line. What's the second?
The second is the distinction between shaping and crushing. The goal is to shape their will toward choosing good, not to break their spirit. Good correction should lead to self-confident joy, not self-doubting sadness. If your child just retreats into shame, you might have crushed them instead of shaped them.
And the third one we touched on, the difference between childishness and defiance. You have to know what you're correcting.
You do. If you don't have those lines clear in your mind, your discipline will be inconsistent. And inconsistency just undermines the whole thing.
Okay, so let's say the behavior is clearly defiance. What does that balanced approach to discipline actually look like?
Well, Proverbs 29.15 points to 2 elements that have to be in balance: reproof and the rod.
Reproof and the rod.
Reproof is the verbal part, the instruction, the warning, the words that teach the why. The rod refers to the consequences, the action.
So you can't just talk and you can't just punish. You need both.
You need both, and you need them consistently and diligently. The sources really stress starting early. If you wait until they're teenagers, that foundational window can be a lot harder to work with.
And always in love.
Always. Showing them your commitment to their character is bigger than your own comfort.
That's a great foundation. But the sources don't leave it there with structure and correction. They make this huge pivot toward joy, toward delighting in your children.
Yes, this is non-negotiable for their self-worth. It's modeling God's relationship with us, like in Psalm 18 where it says, He delights in me.
So when a parent delights in their child, what messages are they sending?
3 core messages. First, you are a gift and a reward. They need to feel treasured, not like an inconvenience.
And a second.
Second, you are worth guiding. It goes back to that idea of an archer guiding an arrow. When you take the time and energy to guide their unique bent, you're telling them they're worth that investment. You care about where they're headed.
Right, not just about their immediate behavior.
Exactly. And the third message is you bring joy. Kids just thrive when they know they make their parents happy. If the home is always heavy and tense, they can start to believe they're the burden. We have to lighten up.
That's easier said than done sometimes.
Yeah.
What are some really concrete, practical ways to do that? The sources had those 4 L's, right?
Yeah, these are things you can do this week. First, lingering. Just turn off your phone, stop what you're doing, and just watch them play for 5 minutes. Be present.
Lingering, I like that.
Second is listening. I mean, really listening, discovering their dreams and fears without jumping in to judge or fix it.
Okay.
Third is learning alongside them. Build something together. Let them teach you about their favorite video game. Read a book together. It shows you're on the same team.
And the last one.
And finally, laughing with them. Be silly. Tell jokes. Create fun. Delight is communicated through shared happiness.
Okay, now for the hardest part. What happens when things go really wrong? Navigating rebellion. Restoration.
The primary example the sources use is the prodigal son. And it's a story of courageous love.
How so?
The father has to absorb this profound disrespect. His son asking for his inheritance is basically saying, I wish you were dead. And yet the father calmly grants the request and lets him go.
That feels so counterintuitive. Letting him go seems like enabling him.
It's a critical tension. But the father isn't rescuing his adult son. He's allowing him to experience the full natural consequences of his choices. He draws a line and lets the far country do its work.
So the principle is you draw a clear line and you stick to it. You don't keep bailing them out.
Exactly. But the other half of that is just as important. The moment true repentance happens, grace abounds. Instantly. No, I told you so. Just open arms.
Now, what about just maintaining harmony with adult children who aren't rebellious, just grown up?
The sources pull from Ephesians 4, and the principles for church unity work perfectly for family. 3 big rules. Speak truth, be honest, but in love. And quit yelling. No angry outbursts, no sarcasm.
And the third one is the one that really gets parents. Stop stealing.
Yes, this is the hard one. It's about stealing 2 things from your adult kids. First, their freedom. Their freedom to make their own choices, even if you think they're mistakes.
And the second thing we steal.
Their consequences. This is the ultimate enabling. When you swoop in to pay off their debt or solve their crisis, you are stealing the pain that's necessary for them to grow. You're fueling entitlement.
That's a painful act of love to step back like that.
It truly is, and that leads to the final, inevitable question. What do you do when you realize you've blown it? When you're the one with the regrets, the if-onlys.
Right. Because we all have them.
We all do. And the ultimate hope is that promise from the book of Joel that God can restore the years the locusts have eaten.
So there is a path to renewal. What are the steps for a parent who wants to reconcile?
The sources lay out 4. 1, humble yourself. Pride keeps the walls up. You have to admit your specific shortcomings, not a vague, I'm sorry if I hurt you, but a real, I was wrong for.
Okay.
2, pray fervently. Trust that God is in the business of relational repair. 3, remove the yoke. Stop blaming, stop pointing fingers, and absolutely stop complaining about your adult child to other people.
Which is so easy to do. So easy. And 4, trust God. Be available. Be vulnerable. It's okay to cry. And then trust God's timing to be the repairer of the ruins.
So when we pull this all together, what's the big picture for the listener?
I think it's that true biblical parenting is this diligent, lifelong investment in your child's unique bent. It requires constant discernment, careful discipline, intentional delight, and this incredible willingness to offer and to seek forgiveness, sometimes across generations.
So we're called to be repairers of the ruins in our own family lines, starting with ourselves. So here's the final thought for you to take away. If you look at your family's dynamic today, what specific ancestral baggage, that streak of clay in the marble, are you determined to unpack? Or what hidden bent in your child do you need to spend more time discovering and delighting in this week? Thank you for listening, and do subscribe to our channel for more.